Hey, welcome back to the shop. Still working on some cabinets, doing some other things. Just fixed my dryer. Uh, Breaking down sheet goods. We got a big blizzard coming, so I wanted to get everything inside so that I can cut all my joinery and put this thing together while we're down and out. Danny's staring out the window there, looking for squirrels. Um, Subject just came up, and James Wright actually just did a video on this, a really good one. And James is his channel's Wood by Wright. If you don't watch him and you're into woodworking and stuff like that, you really should. Uh, he's an excellent woodworker. Kind of like me, I'm a toolsmith, and James is a great toolsmith, fixing up all his old tools and really restoring some antiques, and he does terrific work with them. But he shot a video the other day on squares. And typically, I don't watch all James's videos. I used to quite a while ago, but I think we all end up with our own identity. And woodworkers tend not to really watch woodworkers that do the same stuff that they do. So I don't watch them often, but when it comes to squares, bam, it caught my interest and I just watched what he had to say. His beliefs kind of mimic mine. And today, sure enough, I ran into an issue. And I thought, this is a good topic for a video. So when I first got into woodworking, one of the videos that blew my mind more than anything else and changed everything that I do was uh, it was a video that was titled, "Are Your Squares Square?" Well, of course they are. I grab a square and we just assume it's square. And the truth of the matter is that they're not even close. They're not square. They're never square. They're not square. If you use them a lot, they are out of square. They're probably all out of square. And that's what I ran into when I watched this video and I went, oh shit, doing all this work and blah, 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 and everything, seems to come out great. I mean, every now and then I do run into a little bit of a problem. And I never really thought about it. So I took them out and I checked them, and sure enough, every square in my till wasn't square. And so then I became pretty anal about it, and I'd check them from time to time, and I don't know why it's worn off of this big one, but I would actually write right on them in Sharpie, a date when the last time that I checked it for square. And that became something that I really started to watch. Well, I'm going to show you how to check them, and I'm going to show you how to fix them. James kind of shit on combination squares in his video, which is fine. He likes to use tri-squares like these. If you haven't watched James' video, watch it. It's goes into a little bit about the history of tri-squares and why they're called tri-squares and this, that, and the other thing. I have a million of them. But I primarily use combination squares. I do use this Empire tri-square quite a bit, especially when I'm doing glue ups and things like that for inside corners, checking joinery. But this has been used fairly well. We're going to check it and we'll see if it's square. And I can tell you how to fix them. We won't go in any long video on, filing these edges and things like that. James did a video on that quite a while ago. If you want to watch how to file the edge of a tri-square out, I'm going to touch it briefly and quickly. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to check your squares to see if they're square, because they're not, especially if you don't check them. So anyway, what you need, I'm going to get your view down on my table here. What you need to check a square is you need a straight edge and a flat surface that you can write on or mark with a knife. Now, writing on them is great, and that will get you in the ballpark, but knifing your square edges using a knife line will work much better, and it will really show you how far out of square you are. The key is that this edge that you use as your reference edge has to be perfectly straight. And I mean, it's got to be straight. So this one right here that I've used before, I'm checking it with the straight edge on my combination square, is perfect from this edge to, so I go across, I'm looking for any gap whatsoever. To right here, it's no good. Right here, it gaps off at the end. So I'm going to write no good here. So you could not check a square in this quadrant right here. But the rest of it's perfectly flat. And I know once upon a time, since I have some square marks on here, that I jointed this with a plane for this specific purpose. And to be honest with you, without getting crazy on talking about jointing with planes and things like that, you can certainly joint an edge flatter than you can measure. So you can joint an edge. I can joint an edge with a plane, flat, down to, a millionth of an inch of being perfectly straight. If you've never watched any of my jointing videos, go ahead. I don't want this thing moving around. I'm going to show you how to do this. Now, there are two levels of checking a square. There's a simple level, and then there is the dial it into unbelievable perfection level. What you want to do is you want to stick your square on here and you want to make a line down your combination square edge. You should use a pretty small pencil like a mechanical pencil. And you also want to mark, this is important, you want to mark your line. So you know what line that is. Because then what you're going to do is you're going to flip this square around the other way, and you can either try and draw a perpendicular line to this one and then see if you can see a difference, or the best way to do it is to draw a second line starting down the bottom right on top of it. Now, when you look down these lines, it should be one line. In this case, it's a big fat line, but they pretty much are one line. This square is square enough for basic use, but we're going to take it to a different level, and that is to knife your square lines. Now you can do the inside too if you want to do it that way. Let's do it on. I just find it a little harder to mark the line from the inside. But what we're going to do on this one, we're going to go right next to it, and we're going to knife a line. So the reason I clamp this down is I want to be able to hold pressure on it. And I'm going to do just a few knife wall swipes. Make sure that I feel that I just registered right along. Now that's going to leave a very, very faint knife line. See if I can get you zoomed in right next to, just so you can see what I'm looking at. So right next to this line, I have this line. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip my square around the other way. I'm going to make sure that I mark my line up here so I know which one it is. And that's important. And we're going to get down into real small things here, so it's important to do that. I'm going to put my knife right back in my knife wall. Come over with my square gently so I don't push it out. And I'm going to mark again. Okay. Now I'm going to take the square away. I'm going to leave it the way I had it, because if there was a difference in those two knife walls, I need to know which way to adjust my square. Now I'm going to show you this. Hopefully I can do this with the tripod sticking off the end. That knife line is one continuous knife line. Doing that, what I just did, especially with, say, in this case, almost 7 inches sticking out, to be one knife line at the top here. This square is not just square, it's perfect. Machinist square perfect. Over 7 inches, to have that within a knife line means that this square is perfectly square, not just a little bit. Now let's find one that isn't. So I'll do a few real quick, and you can also, you can see I got a piece over here of cellular PVC. Sometimes it's a little easier to see on that. And I did check this edge for straight. And if this edge is not straight, this will not work, because what it'll do is it'll angle your square. This edge, I don't think is, it's really, 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 really close to perfect, but it looks like I can see a teeny gap in the middle. So we're not going to use that. Let's check another square. Let's do the tri-square. And let's do the inside edge. We'll just do it with the pencil. I want to find one that's out. And I'm going to make a mark like that. I'm going to come around the other way. I put my pencil on the knife line. And try not to kick it off. And that's within... It's one pencil line. It's actually came up better than the first one. It's one single pencil line. These two are perfectly square. Let's find one that's not. Let's try my big one. Now this one gets the most beat around. So this one would probably be my candidate for the one that's not. Let's put them right in between the two. Okay, good example. I'm going to show you the result of that. This square is not square. If you see right here, my two lines didn't meet up. So now I'm going to show you, I should have marked, it's the reason why it's important to mark your first line. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to mark my first line so I know which way it's out of square, because right now I don't know which line is what. So we're going to start over. Let's go to a nice clean spot here. Make sure it's sit nice and flat. Make a line. Make a mark. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to stick our pencil right back on the line, way down the bottom down here. Okay, now I would not have guessed that. So my second line is off to the right. So I'll show you that. So if you can see, I marked my first line. My second line is off to the right. That means because I left my square like this, that this blade is angled like that. Now I'm going to show you how to fix it. And we'll check it again. What you want to do, I get the fucking hiccups, is we know that this is splayed this way. Not very much. The error is half of the gap. So what I want to do is I want to get this to move like that. What you can do to do that is you want to check every corner and find one that has a little burr on it or is very, very sharp. Inside the square here, the ruler part registers on the inside in there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove some metal from that front face with my sharp edge. Now, this edge here, hiccups. This one's pretty sharp. These rulers will fit right inside. See if you can see my cellular PVC here really quick. These rulers will fit inside this gap. You want to angle so that that point is down on the seat. Put some pressure on it and draw out. And you will kick out some metal. Now, I don't know if you can see that metal that just came out of there. I'm going to do it a couple times. It all depends on how bad it is. Okay. Now let's put this back together and we're going to check it again. Now I'll give you a look down here. And we're going to check it one more time. If I removed enough metal, I would have splayed that over. So we're going to make our line. And then mark, so I know what that line that is. And then we're going to come over. We're going to drop our pencil on that line. I'm going to draw another one. Now, my error, it's still splayed open, but my error now is that from that. So you can see the gap here, you can see the gap here. This is my error now. It's almost one line. So we're going to do a little more. Now you could get in there with a file or something else, and you got to have an awful small file to do it, and most people don't have it. So I'm just looking for the corner that's the sharpest. Now you could just file a burr on there really quick by just kind of, but I don't want to change the dimensions of this. I want it still to read, but it's a fairly sharp corner. So we're going to take it back out. I'm going to use that corner because it's sharp. I'm going to stick it back in here on that wear pad, and I'm going to pull out a couple more times. This corner's not really cutting metal great. If it's got a good sharp burr on it, and usually one of your corners will, here we go, it will pull it out of there. Let's check it again. Now, this is withstanding the possibility that, you know, your ruler's bent or something like that. I'm going to check it one more time here, and this is probably going to do her. So here, nice straight line. Mark it. Flip myself over. My pencil right on the line. Come over to my pencil. Make a nice line. Now, we pretty much got one line the whole way. So now this square is square. We'll check it with a knife really quick. That's as hard as it is to fix them too, but we're going to check it with a knife really quick. I'm going to check the outside. Register it good. Make a nice good mark. I'm going to put something to identify that mark. Maybe even fill it in a little bit right there, just so I know which one it is. I did it that way. Do it this way. I'm going to put my knife right in that wall. Come over to my knife. Keep everything nice and tight. And I'm going to show you that on the knife, which is this mark right here. I am fairly close to one knife line all the way down. It does look like there's a little bit of variance there. I want to double check it again. It almost looks like there's a teeny little variance there at the end. I'm going to check it one more time. That could be a bend in the ruler or anything, but it's very close. Let's check it one more time here. I'll go right next to it. I'm going to come right off the end. The longer you check it, the more accurate your check's going to be. So that's my mark. I'm trying to stay out of the way of the camera here. I'd be standing on the other side. Okay, got it in my mark. Come over to the ruler. I'm going to just scribe another one right down. And again, showing no variance in it at all. So that square also is square. Quick one on a tri-square, just to show you. And like I said, if you watch James file on them, do the filing. James does a terrific job with that. But tri-squares are meant to be used as an inside square. So let's just check one. And this one's out. It's splayed open, which means this would need to be filed. Sometimes they have adjustments, especially in some of the older antiques like this. There are adjustment screws on them. There are a couple of adjustment screws here. Let me double check it again because I didn't mark my first side. Oops. Some pencil out. See which way it's out. It's showing pretty damn close. Check it one more time. It's out a teeny bit. Splayed open, I believe. Mark that line so I know which one it is. That's marking pretty damn close. A little one. Use this one a lot for checking edges. This one's splayed way open. I don't even have to check it. I can see it on the line. So on these, you do have adjustment screws. These ones are pretty whooped. It's so old, that screw is pretty much gone. This is splayed open. I'll check it again really quick to make sure I can reproduce the result. You could check it against a line on a square one and you should be able to see it, which I pretty much can. Some of these other lines on the ones that I fixed. It's close, but it is splayed open. Now it's just in the tip down here where it's kind of beat up. I don't know if I'd be able to get it. It's kind of beat up there. So you could file this with a file. In this case, you would want to start taking it down back here. You would want to file some off this back edge. You would want to start filing here and then work your way out until you can make a continuous pass because you want to keep it nice and flat. You'd have to use a good file. In the case of this one, I don't know that this file is any good. I just had a small one because I was going to maybe use this to scratch out. But you could start filing here and you do it until you get rid of the problem. But like I said, the tip of this is kind of dinged up here. This one is definitely close enough for checking edges of boards, but it is off. Let's check another one here. And this one's perfect. This one is the one that I use more than any other one in the whole shop. This little Swanson. I'll check that one really quick. This will lead you down a rabbit hole that you will not believe. And this one's perfect. So all these squares are good. I have one more here that I want to check. This is, I think, an old Stanley. I use it primarily as a center finder. It has a cheapo blade on it off a Harbor Freight square that the Stanley did not have a blade in it when I got it. I'm going to check this one. Like I said, I primarily use this one as an a center finder for rounds, circles. And it's perfect. Cuts the line perfect. So that is how you check a square. That is as easy it is as you saw on the big one here to fix a combination square that is not square. And the tri-squares are a little bit more complicated because you have to do some filing on them. Or if the screws are all still good, like the screws in this one, you can loosen and tighten those down to try to tweak the square on that or tweak the face on that. You also could file off the face. So when it is splayed open like this, you could file the face too. It's whatever you feel more comfortable with, but you need a decent file. You want to keep it flat. It's just a little bit of filing typically to get it back to square. So that's pretty much it. It came up because I was squaring a table saw blade and two squares did not agree with each other. And I thought this one might be out because it had been out in the field with me quite a bit, and it appears that it's not. The other thing on the combination squares, put yourself some oil in these. I hate it when they stick. When I can't get one loose with my fingers, my fingers are getting old, and sometimes I just cannot loosen it. And as long as the pencil lines and these scribe lines are telling me it's square, then you can trust it. And this will magnify the error double. So whatever your error is, it's half of that error is how far you are on a square. Sometimes when I first checked mine, it was big. There were big errors. They needed a lot of tweaking. So that's it. Hope you guys are having a great day, and hope this helps somebody. If you have any questions, hit me up. More than happy to answer them back. And for now, Pyro Solutions out.